Hey everybody, and welcome back to Miss Control for a feature-focused video. In this video, we're going to talk about timelines, tracks, and triggers. A timeline can be split into tracks, which can be used to organize triggers into different groups or sections. Each different playback in the timeline gets its own row in the track. You can mute tracks to prevent them from playing back using the mute button. You can lock tracks to prevent accidental changes to sections you've finished using the lock button. Tracks can also be collapsed so they take up less room on screen. Use the arrow button to the left of the track name. So let's take a look at that. Here I am on version 15 of Titan on the Titan Go interface. I see a timeline already recorded with the timeline view up. So if we see here, we see our track that we currently have, as well as all the cues that are in this track. And if we scroll down, we can see another track in our timeline. So we can easily collapse this, like we were saying, to make it easier to see all of them. We can also lock it. So if we hit the lock button here, we now wouldn't be able to edit our track any. We also turn it off by using the mute button here. So say if we mute that and we go into our timeline, we get our capture up, and we go ahead and hit play on our time code. We can see that only our blinders track is playing and not our other one. But if we unmute it, we can see that it plays this track also. To program a timeline, you need to record actions at specific times, which can then be replayed by the console with the same timing. These are called triggers. The following types of triggers can be created. You record these actions in real time using the live record, or enter them as manual triggers at specified times using the touchscreen. You can also edit a trigger with your mouse using the touchscreen or the wheels. Other videos in our series will show doing the live record and the manual triggers. We're just going to go through everything in this video. So some of the triggers we have, we set level. This fades up a playback to a set level over time. This has the same effect as you pushing up a fader. If the playback has a fade times program, these will also run. Go to queue. This allows you to go to a queue and a queue list. You can either specify a queue number or just record a go trigger to run the next queue. The queue will follow the fade times programmed in the queue list. Flash will flash a playback. Time flash, flash playback with programmed fade times. Time flash and go, time flash followed by go action for a queue list. Swap will swap a playback. Preload, preload LTP values of the playback over a number of seconds. This is the same as a move in dark in a queue list. Marker marks a point in the time code for information. Wait for go pauses the timeline until you press go to resume. This only works on internal time code. So let's take a look at that. Here we are back on our timeline. And we can see here we've got some different playbacks, some flashes, some swaps, some queue go-tos. Let's see here, this was a standard set level done on this one by bringing the fader up and down during a live record. We see here we have the flash and the swap. You can edit a trigger by selecting it. So if we were to select this one here, we can then use our mouse to drag it. Or if we use a touchscreen, we use our finger, or we can see that we can use our wheels. And we can move it, we can adjust its level, so instead of taking it up to 100%, maybe we take it only to 50, and we set the fade time of it, making it a longer fade up, or a shorter fade up to 0 fade time. Say the whole thing wasn't in the right timing, we could just select both ends of it, and then we can move it along in our timeline. We of course do the same thing with the flash. To say this flash held on for too long, so I'll select the back end of it and pull it down to maybe half that time. And then the timing is a little off on it, so we'll go ahead and move its time around. We can also edit multiple playbacks at once. So say I was to select all of these, I can then use my wheel to move them all. And we'll just undo that with Avo back. If we wanted to delete a trigger, we just simply hit delete, select the trigger we wanted to delete, and confirm. We now see that that is gone, and actually that was the only time that that playback was used, so it is gone now. If we don't want it to use more than once, such as this one, hit delete and selected this, and confirm. We can see it just got rid of that one, but not the entire track. If we wanted to just delete a playback out of our timeline, we could just hit delete, and then select it, and then confirm, and it removes that any triggers for that playback out. Let's talk about some items in our context menu. Please remember that our context menu on the Titan Go, Sapphire Touch, and D9 series is going to be the 4 lines button on every window. On all other consoles, it's going to be just the left of soft keys B, C, and D, as shown circled here. So if we open our context menu, then go to the Tools menu. And in our tool menus, we have these options. We can simplify the triggers. We can smooth the selected triggers. We can crop the start time, crop the end time, and close tools. Let's talk about simplifying triggers. Normally, while you are recording, Auto Simplify Soft Key option is enabled. When you stop recording, this will simplify your fader movements to a few trigger points with linear fades rather than a large number of points, which are difficult to edit. If you really need to capture exotic fader movement, you can turn this option off, but to help keep your timeline easy to edit, you should leave it on where you can. You can simplify triggers after recording by selecting the triggers, draw a marquee box over them, and in the Tools Simplify Selected Triggers context menu option. So let's see actually doing that. So here we can go ahead and collapse our top track to get it out of the way. And we'll go ahead and scroll our timeline over a little bit. We see here in this track, it's got a lot of points for going up and down. So if we're going to just select all of them and go to our context menu, Tools, and Simplify Selected Triggers, we see instead of having a bunch of points, it's now just 2 for this fade up, plateaus, and then fades down, making it a much simpler trigger. Smooth triggers, you can also make a smooth fade between adjacent triggers by selecting the triggers using the tool Smooth Selected Triggers in the context menu options. Let's take a look at that. So if we scroll over here, we've got a playback for this. We see here, in this particular one, we have a fade up, plateaus, and then a harsh fade down, plateaus again, and then fades down. Let's say instead of having that, I want it to be smooth the entire time. What I can do is go ahead and select all of those points, go in our context menu again, Tools, and then Smooth Selected Triggers. And we see now that it has smoothed them out. So that has been Triggers and Tracks in Timeline in version 15 of Titan. Please continue watching our series on Timeline to learn more. I hope you learned something today. Join us on Facebook at Avolites US. Join us here next time. Please subscribe. Thanks. Bye.
Wheel stop.
Roger, wheel stop, Discovery. Welcome back. A great ending to the new beginning.